everyone. Welcome to the press conference. My name is Dana Montgomery, and I will be emceeing us today. This conference represents a coalition of several groups that include the Grand Rapids Area Mutual Aid Network, Together We Are Safe, the People's Budget of Grand Rapids, Movimiento Cosecha Grand Rapids, and GR Rapid Response to ICE. We also have support from several of the leaders of the protests from the past few weekends. All of these groups are demanding that the city of Grand Rapids divest from the police and reinvest in the black communities. Our speakers today will be myself, Dana Montgomery. I'm a community organizer and resident of the 2nd Ward, Adrian Johnson, a community activist, Sergio Cira Reyes, who will be representing Movimiento Cosecha, Solomon Gant, who's representing Justice for Black Lives, and Samantha Shabolsky, who is a queer black organizer and a resident of the 1st Ward. We will not be taking questions at the end, but you are welcome to come up to the individual organizers and ask if they're available for a one-on-one interview. So without further ado, we'll get started with our first statements. First off, I want to take a moment to say Tamir Rice's name. Tamir Rice should be turning 18 years old today. Tamir enjoyed athletics and loved playing football and basketball. When Tamir was 12 years old, he was murdered by the Cleveland Police Department in 2014 for playing with a toy gun. Tamir should still be with us today. Today, we remember Tamir's life and we fight for justice with his name at the forefront of our minds. In the media, we've been inundated with stories of police violence towards black bodies. George Floyd, Tony McDade, Breonna Taylor. We hear these stories and we think of how terrible it is, but it's not so close to home. The Grand Rapids Police Department even released a statement condemning the murder of George Floyd. But GRPD is not innocent from instances of police violence. There are so many stories of how GRPD inflicts harm on communities of color daily. These stories happen all around us, and they are close to home. Take the story of Bronquel Brown, a 24-year-old black man. During a traffic stop, GRPD officers broke Brown's window, sprayed him with pepper spray, pulled him out of the vehicle, and punched him 29 times. Bronquel was then charged with resisting arrest. Or the multiple times GRPD has harmed our children. In December 2017, GRPD was responding to a report of a stabbing when they found an 11-year-old black girl, Honesty, and her aunt. Upon arrival, they forced Honesty to walk backwards at gunpoint, and then she was handcuffed and forcibly searched. The officer was given paid leave while an internal investigation was conducted. The investigation found that the officer acted justly in his actions. This is just one story of a string of incidents from 2017 to 2019 where GRPD handcuffed, held at gunpoint, and searched our innocent black children. Or at the protest this year on May 30th, where police pepper sprayed a citizen and then fired a tear gas canister directly into his face. This officer still has not yet faced disciplinary action. I was a part of the crowd that night and witnessed firsthand GRPD unnecessarily gassing and harming folks. All of these stories illustrate how deeply oppressive GRPD is and has been to our communities of color. There is currently an open investigation for the Grand Rapids Police Department with the Michigan Department of Civil Rights. There are now over 28 complaints of discrimination against the department. A representative from the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, Augustin Arbalou, stated that he is not aware of another police department with that many complaints of discrimination. This absolutely must stop. And the solutions are not police reform. It is defunding the Grand Rapids Police Department. Over the last 6 years, there have been 140 recommendations to the GRPD from various community organizers and studies. There has not yet been a plan to implement any of those recommendations. And even when those reforms are implemented, they're often used against black folks or evaded when push comes to shove. The data shows that. They have shown us time and time again that they don't prioritize our concerns and they don't care about our stories. Enough is enough. The time to defund the police department and refund our black communities is now. The time has come to remind our city officials that they work for us, that their budget is our money and we should decide where it goes. We cannot wait for them to continue to brutalize our black bodies. We cannot wait for more stories like Bronquel Brown or the 11-year-old Honesty or Kavase Phillips. Our city officials must vote to defund the Grand Rapids Police Department today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Can everyone hear me? First, I would like to thank Samantha and Dana for having me in the press conference covering the reasons many of us in the community and nationwide are calling for defunding, some dismantling, and reform of the police. As aggressive and attacking as it sounds, it's not as hard-hitting as the continuous conversations surrounding police brutalities and murders throughout this country and within our own city. We are not saying that police should not exist, but they most certainly should take a look at themselves and what systematically continues to be a persisting problem when it comes to policing black and brown neighborhoods and what they really and truly represent within their force of whether the community they serve actually matters for what it truly needs for all of us to progress into a better future ahead. Most of us know that American policing has never been a neutral institution, and that the first U.S. city police department was a slave patrol, and modern police forces directed oppression and violence at black people to enforce Jim Crow wage and war on drugs and crack down on protests. It's weaved into the very fabric of how this country was founded, in a display of oppressive and violent superiority mentality. But we do know there are some legitimately served under the oath of which is intended nature today is to protect and serve, that silenced by those who have other destructive agendas. So to you, I thank you for your service. But what we are asking in return is that you decrease your funding to only 32% and release it into the communities that are underserved, that need services and resources that would benefit us all in the long run. If you believe in the protection of your citizens and the growth of your city, in the building a healthy relationship between your black and brown brothers and sisters, let the people do what they do best to help where it's most needed. Believe in your community and where it's in the true needs to push the funding adjustment by July 1st. We need this to happen now. Thank you.
My name is Sergio Cira Reyes. I'm a volunteer organizer with Movimiento Cosecha, which means Harvest Movement. We are a national movement seeking dignity, respect, and permanent protection for the 11 million undocumented immigrants living in the United States. Our movement is based on our principles. Among them, that we don't dance with politicians, that our seeds come from the trees of sacrifice, and that all we need is already within our community. But also that we are one of many harvests, and that an injustice somewhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this is why we're here today, in solidarity with our black siblings. Immigrants of all shades of color and nationality share a common experience with the black community in the United States. The same people that murdered George Floyd and Breonna Taylor also kill brown bodies, overzealously profile us, and turn us into ice. They terrorized 5 black kids with guns as they left the Kroc Center, and they handcuffed Honesty Hodges when she was 11 years old. We are living in a police state that is out of control. Our fates are intertwined. Black lives matter. They matter independent of immigrant experience with police. Today, we are here to demand that our elected officials and city leadership cut the police budget and invest in community.
I'm not one for many words. I usually like to stay in the background, so I'll try to keep this short. I believe it's time for the city of Grand Rapids to take a stand for black communities and for black lives. It is important. It does matter. Black lives do matter. Enough time has gone by. We have sat idly by. It is time for action. The George Floyd incident has caused a movement. It has stirred something amazing in this entire world. And I'm behind it. We are behind it. We're asking just for 32%. Think about it. Putting it into the black communities is going to help the economy. It's going to make things better. So, I just leave with just these last few words. Real short. Let's just make every effort to do what leads to peace and to mutual edification. Thank you.
My name is Samantha, and I am a resident of the First Ward. Can you hear me okay? Yes. I drove through downtown earlier this week. When I stopped at a light, a pregnant woman came up to my window. I gave her a bottled water and jokingly said, "Gotta keep the baby hydrated." To which she replied, "It's babies, and I'm not sure it's even safe to have them out here." Yes, she was black. She may have meant in general, but I couldn't help but believe that she meant the conflicted feeling of bringing more black babies into a community where they will be over-policed, assumed criminals, and judged by the color of their skin. Not just once, but often. Police around the country are killing black people at disproportionate rates. Police in Michigan are arresting black people at disproportionate rates. Police in Grand Rapids are harassing black people at disproportionate rates. I can recognize my privileges I hold for the amount of melanin in my skin and the way that I talk, but let me share something about over-policing. First thing you need to know is that I grew up in the Second Ward with white parents in an all-white neighborhood. I was never once pulled over while riding with my parents or driving alone when I got my license. I only saw a cop go by my house maybe once. I have lived in the First Ward now for 4 years. In those 4 years, I have been pulled over 5 times, less than 2 blocks from my home. I never received a ticket, but was always questioned about my destination and the passengers in my car. Driving through the First and Third Wards, I have seen more police cars than I ever saw in my 20 years living in the Second Ward. It is clear that cops over-police the First and Third Wards when unlawful behaviors happen in every part of our city. This is over-policing, and it's intentional. I have no trust in the Grand Rapids Police Department. I have no faith in the Grand Rapids Police Department. I have never called 911 hoping a cop shows up. It's always something that can be handled by the fire department or EMS. They always handle it, without a gun on their hip, without escalating the situation, and certainly without killing anyone. I'll end with this. The city manager is accountable to the city commission and to the public. The city commission is accountable to us. Mayor Bliss, you work for us. First Ward Commissioners Repart and O'Connor, special reminder to O'Connor, you work for us. Second Ward Commissioners Jones and Yasasi, you work for us. Third Ward Commissioner Moody, a special reminder to him, and Commissioner Lanier, you work for us. I'm still waiting for you to act in the best interest of the black community and correct our city manager when he says adjusting the budget now is too difficult, Too late and out of the question. Call an emergency commission meeting and get it done by July 30th. Do it because this community calls for it. We've protested, we've held vigils and marches, we've blocked traffic and broken windows, all in the midst of a fucking pandemic. And still, we're waiting for what is due. Mark Washington, you work for us, and I realize you're new to the scene, so maybe listening is your best move. Make motions to defund the Grand Rapids Police Department to the charter-mandated 32% of the City of Grand Rapids budget. Invest the $9 million savings into the black community. Do this before Grand Rapids is added to the list next to Minneapolis, Atlanta, Ferguson, and Tallahassee for black murder at the hands of police. Do this before someone in our city is the next hashtag.
I'd like to thank you all for coming to our press conference today. We remind people to join our Facebook event, Defund the GRPD, and to continue to call and email our city commissioners, the mayor, and the city manager to make these demands for an emergency meeting to change the budget now, before July 1st. Our demands are for an emergency meeting by June 30th to reduce the police budget down to the required 32%, and to have a plan by July 31st to have a full community conversation with the most marginalized folks in the black community. Please follow Together We Are Safe on Facebook to find all this information. Again, thank you for coming.